This one island is split into two worlds that look like they were born on different planets. On one side, you have a country that welcomes over 8 million tourists a year, builds modern infrastructure, and sells a vision of paradise. On the other side, you have a state where gangs control entire neighborhoods. Kidnappings are a business, and the government often doesn't even control its own capital. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. This is reality. That island is Hispaniola, and the countries that divide it are Dominican Republic and Haiti. What you're about to see is one of the most brutal development gaps in the world. Colonial beginnings. Two paths from the same starting line. It begins quietly. One island, the same climate, the same soil, and then two completely different worlds. 1492, the first voyage of Christopher Columbus reaches the Caribbean. On the horizon, an explorer for Europe. For this island, the beginning of the end of the old order. Spain takes the east, France moves into the west. And this isn't just a division of land, it's a division of the future. The eastern side, what will become the Dominican Republic, develops slower, less intensively. The west, Haiti, is turned into a money factory, not a country, a machine. The French colony of Saint-Domingue in the 18th century was a global powerhouse. Up to 40% of Europe's sugar and 60% of its coffee came from this one place. Sounds like success. It wasn't. It was extraction. The system ran on one fuel: slaves. Hundreds of thousands of people were brought from Africa. Average life expectancy? Often just a few years. Because it was cheaper to replace a human being than to keep one alive. This wasn't an economy, it was a slaughterhouse turned into a business. And eventually, something broke. 1791, the uprising that changed world history. The Haitian Revolution begins, plantations burn, the system collapses. Enslaved people take up weapons and do something no one expected. They win. 1804, Haiti declares independence, the first state in history created by former slaves. But here's the part most people don't talk about. Napoleon Bonaparte sends troops to the island, among them Polish legions. They fight for France, believing Napoleon might help restore Poland's independence. But when they arrive, they see something else. Not a rebellion, a fight for freedom. And many of them make a decision that costs them everything. They switch sides. They desert. They fight alongside Haitians, not by order, but by choice. Some die. Some stay. To this day, places like Cazal are home to their descendants. And Haiti never forgot. After the revolution, in its constitution, Poles were declared black, meaning equal citizens. A symbol. In a world obsessed with race, they were accepted as part of the nation. But France didn't let go. You want freedom? Pay for it. The price? 150 million francs. Haiti takes loans from France to pay France. This wasn't debt, it was a trap. One that lasted over a century. The consequences? No investment, no infrastructure, chronic poverty, endless instability. The country starts its race, already crippled. And this is where the difference you see today is born. The Dominican Republic grows slower but steadier. Haiti, from the very beginning, is suffocating under the weight of its history. One island, two paths, and one of them was broken before it ever had the chance to run.
The Dominican Republic, a slower start, a more stable path. The Spanish side of Hispaniola was never the kind of high-output machine that the French built in Haiti. Less exploited, less wealthy, less brutally squeezed. And in the long run, that's exactly what saved it. There was no massive boom, no richest colony in the world, but there was also no total system collapse. No debt choking the country for a century. No single moment that shattered everything. The result? A slower start, but a more stable path. This isn't a story of success. It's a story of survival without catastrophe at the beginning. Paradise built on tourism. The Dominican Republic isn't rich, but it's smart. It learned one thing very well: how to turn a country into a product. The economy, numbers that actually matter. GDP per capita, roughly $10,000 to $11,000 nominal. One of the fastest growing economies in the Caribbean. Not Europe level, but enough for stability. The engine? Tourism. Over 8 million visitors a year, billions of dollars in revenue, hundreds of thousands of jobs. Places you've seen on Instagram: Punta Cana, Bávaro, La Romana, Puerto Plata. But this isn't vacation. It's an industry. A resort isn't a hotel. It's a fortress. Private security, private energy, private water, private beaches. The tourist sees a perfect world, clean, safe, controlled. But it's a bubble, cut off from the rest of the country. And the money? A lot of it escapes. The darker side. Here's where it starts to crack. A large share of hotels belongs to foreign chains. The result? Profits flow abroad. The local economy gets a fraction. Wages? Brutal disparity. Hotel worker, $200 to $400 a month. Tourist can spend that in a few days. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. And it's getting wider. Step outside the resort. Neighborhoods like Capotillo, Guale, Los Guandules. And suddenly, power outages, unstable water supply, poverty, tension, a completely different world, the one tourists never see. Gangs, quiet control. The Dominican Republic doesn't have one massive cartel. It has something else. Hundreds of smaller groups, commonly mentioned: Los Trinitarios, Los 42, Los Pangoleros. What they do? Drugs, extortion, territorial control. This isn't Mexico-style war. It's quieter, but it's real. A system that exists on paper. Pension reform, 2003. On paper, a system exists. In reality, a huge part of the population works off the books. No contributions, no safety net. The result? No real pension. So the country falls back on something older than any system. Children support their parents, like 100 years ago. Infrastructure under pressure. The system works, but barely. Blackouts, expensive fuel, rising food prices. It holds together, but just on the edge. The truth about the Dominican Republic: this is a country that works, grows, attracts money, but underneath, massive inequality. A system that doesn't include everyone. Two worlds in one state. The tourist sees paradise. The resident sees the bills. And that's the full picture. It didn't collapse like Haiti, but it never became a country for everyone either. Port-au-Prince, the heart of the state. On paper, the capital. In reality, a battlefield. Estimates from 2023 to 2025 are clear. Between 60% and 80% of the city is under gang influence. This is not a metaphor. It means police don't enter entire neighborhoods. The state doesn't enforce the law. Streets have owners, unofficial, armed, often better organized than the state itself. In many areas, it's the gang that decides who passes, who opens a shop, who survives the night. This is not a lack of control. It's a different form of control. The gangs that rule. This is not nameless chaos. These are structures, leaders, a system. G9 and Fanmi et Allié. Leader: Jimmy Cherizier, Barbecue. A former police officer, today one of the most powerful men in the country. G9 is a coalition of gangs, control over key districts, influence over politics. This isn't just a gang, it's something between a militia and a shadow army. Their main rival? GPEP, a direct competitor to G9. The fight? Control of the city. Constant clashes, shifting front lines. This is war, unofficial, but real. Another key player, 400 Mawozo, one of the most infamous groups. Specialization? Kidnappings for ransom. They were behind high-profile abductions, foreign nationals, missionaries, local business owners. Kidnapping as a system. This isn't chaos, it's a model. In Haiti, kidnapping isn't an incident, it's a process, a system. The pattern? Abduction, contact, negotiation, ransom. Amounts? From a few $100s to hundreds of thousands. At peak moments, thousands of kidnappings per year. This isn't just crime, it's a market. Families sell everything, homes, land, their future, just to get one person back, or a body. Control over the state's lifelines. Gangs don't just control streets, they control the bloodstream of the country, roads, ports, fuel terminals. The result? No fuel, no transport, no food. One decision, and the country stops. This has happened repeatedly in recent years. Fuel terminals shut down, weeks without supply, hospitals without electricity. This is no longer crime. This is leverage, power. A state without control. Haiti isn't just poor, it's systemically weak. A key moment, the assassination of Jovenel Moïse. After that, a power vacuum, no stable government, political chaos. Add to that, corruption, weak security forces, no real territorial control. Authority exists, but often only on paper. Layers of collapse. This isn't one cause, it's layers. History, debt, colonialism, chronic poverty, weak institutions, violence as a norm, no perspectivi. A spiral, and no one stopped it when it still could be stopped. The reality. Haiti is not just a country with problems, it's a country where gangs often have more power than the state. Kidnapping is a business. The road to work can be your last road. This is not collapse. This is a permanent state of crisis. The border you can see from space. Now imagine something even more absurd. One island, one line on the map. On one side, chaos, gangs, the absence of a functioning state. On the other, hotels, airports, billions from tourism. And this border doesn't stop at politics. It cuts into the soil, into the trees, into the landscape. From above, it looks like someone sliced the island with a knife. This is not a metaphor, it's a fact. Satellite images of Hispaniola show one of the sharpest environmental borders in the world. On the side of the Dominican Republic, green. On the side of Haiti, brown. In some places, the border is visible almost as a straight line. Not because the climate changes, it doesn't. Not because the soil changes, it's nearly identical. What changes is the system, and the people living inside it. Haiti, survival at the cost of nature. Haiti was once covered in tropical forests. Today, estimates suggest over 90% of its historical forest cover is gone. Current forest cover in many analyses as low as 2 to 4% of the country, one of the lowest levels on Earth. Why were the forests cut down? Not policy, necessity. Wood equals fuel. In Haiti, millions of people cook with charcoal. There is no stable electricity, no widespread alternative energy, so trees became survival. The chain reaction. And it doesn't stop at the landscape, it triggers a cascade. Soil erosion. Land washes away with every rain. Agriculture collapses. Farming becomes harder each year. Flooding. No trees to hold water. Cities flood fast. Food production drops. Poverty deepens. Dependence on imports grows. A closed loop. The worse it gets, the faster the environment is destroyed just to survive. Dominican Republic, a different system. On the other side of the same island, the Dominican Republic retains roughly 30 to 40% forest cover. It enforces environmental laws, develops national parks, protects key ecosystems. Energy is the key difference. The country does not rely on wood as primary fuel. Instead, gas, oil, growing renewables, infrastructure. The result? People don't need to cut down forests to survive. The state functions. It regulates deforestation, invests in tourism as an alternative economy. Not perfect, but it works. What this really is. This is not a story about nature. not about luck. This is about the state. Two countries, same geography, same climate. Yet one has forests, the other doesn't. One builds tourism, the other fights to survive. What you see from space is not just color. It's history, colonialism, debt, political decisions, chaos versus stability. One side had the chance to build. The other spent most of its existence trying to survive the next day. The line that divides everything. The border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic is not just a line on a map. It's a line between state and its absence, control and chaos, future and survival. And the worst part? You can see it from space. But this border is not just trees and land. It's people. Every day, someone tries to cross it. Not for adventure, not for vacation, for a chance to live. The movement is one way, from Haiti to the Dominican Republic. The reason is simple. In Haiti, chaos. In the Dominican Republic, stability. Relative, but real. Estimates suggest hundreds of thousands of Haitians work in the Dominican Republic, often illegally. Where? Construction, agriculture, the lowest paid jobs, the kind many locals don't want. Migration is not just numbers, it's emotion. In the Dominican Republic, tension is rising. Pressure on the system, competition for jobs, cultural differences. The result? Deportations, stricter migration policies, checks, raids. The government carries out mass deportations of Haitians, tightens the law. This isn't just politics, it's about state survival. A wall between worlds. The Dominican Republic has begun building a physical barrier along the border with Haiti. The goal? Control migration, reduce smuggling, increase security. A wall, fences, surveillance, military patrols. This is not symbolic. It's a real attempt to cut itself off from chaos. Two perspectives, no solution. For a Haitian, this border is life or death, a chance to work, a chance to survive. For a Dominican, it's a threat, pressure on the state, risk of instability. Both sides are right, and neither has a real solution. Because this isn't something you fix with one decision. Haiti is collapsing. The Dominican Republic is trying to protect itself. And that border will only become more tense. One island, two realities. Look at the island again. Hispaniola, one piece of land, not divided by nature, but by people. On one side, resorts, airports, growth. On the other, gangs, no functioning state, a daily fight to survive. The border is only 380 kilometers long, but it separates worlds decades, maybe even centuries apart. And this isn't over. This isn't history. This is happening now, every single day, on the same island. If you want more stories like this, subscribe, because the world isn't what it looks like on vacation. It's what it looks like on the other side of the border. Hispaniola, one island, two worlds.